Let's start by focusing on how brains work, especially how brains work when the pressure is on. So let's imagine a client comes to you and is upset, and that gives you a little pop of adrenaline. Or you're sitting in a conference room and it's a tough negotiation, and that gives you a little pop of adrenaline. Or you're talking to a lawyer who's on the other side of the deal and they are being very hostile and aggressive, and that makes you have a little adrenaline. If you can be well-spoken in those moments, you can be well-spoken in those most casual moments. So what happens to us when that pressure is on? Well, adrenaline is an extraordinary hormone in the human body, and its effect on the brain is really important to understand because it has such a lot to do with how we control the pace at which we speak or not. So let's contemplate adrenaline in the brain. It has a big role in the body, but not so much when we're sitting in a conference room or listening to an angry client. It has much more at that moment to do with what is it doing to affect your brain. Well, adrenaline creates what we might call a time warp. It makes time slow down. And that resulting slowness, or the perception of slowness, is the simple reason why people talk too fast. People who are uncomfortable talk even faster because adrenaline has created this illusion that time has slowed down, and so the response is to speed up. So in order to get control of that fast-talking instinct at those moments of greatest discomfort, you need to really understand what's going on up there in the brain. Well, adrenaline sends extra time perception into the brain in the sense that time slows down. And think about what people say about those two responses to that moment when they literally are having a life or death response. When they really have that fear of, oh my gosh, that car is running the red light coming right at me, I'm about to die, and then the car swerves. Well, what do we say about those few seconds of terror when the car is coming at me and I think, oh my gosh, I'm about to die? Two things are universal. One, people say, it's as if everything went into slow motion. And number two, my whole life flashed in front of me. In those 3 seconds of, my life is about to end, time slows down and your whole life flashes in front of you. So in the brain, our perception is when the pressure's on, even sitting at a conference table or across the desk from an unhappy client, time has slowed down. And as a result, your tendency will be to talk too fast. So how do you control that? And what does it do in our brains that makes us least comfortable? Well, the simple truth is this: when time slows down, we are particularly ill at ease with this: silence. Because it seems to last so long. Because time has slowed down, 3 seconds seems like 10 or 12 or 15. And that's why everyone speeds up when they're nervous. Well, let me explain. When we get uncomfortable, we accelerate the pace. And we accelerate the pace because silence suddenly seems so completely inappropriate. But here's where silence is such an important part of your speaking style in an interpersonal communication moment. Silence is when your thought process needs to happen. And not only is silence when you are thinking, silence is when the listener is taking in and processing what it is that you need to say. Now, I would say, as a very personal response to that kind of moment, when I go to talk to one of my lawyers, whether it's my publishing lawyer or my lawyer that helps me with my wills and estates, or the lawyer that helps me with my elderly father's property, the only thing that matters to me when I walk out of that meeting is, did I understand that? Is my money well spent because I walked out thinking, I understand it, and I understand what this lawyer is going to do to help me with that problem. So the silence that you are using as the speaker is the very silence that I, as the client, need to have to process what it is that you've said to me. So if you are someone who talks without that silence, so you have no time to think, and I have, as your listener, no time to process, it's a lose-lose situation. And those silences are so difficult to get comfortable with because they seem too long, but of course they're not. That's the time warp at work in our brains.